Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Nick Shorn-Pavick, and I'm going to answer some questions that many of you may have about cosmic twister circles. The first question is, what is cosmic twister? It's the thing that I find hard to articulate, but I'm going to try to put this in plain language and simple terms. Simply speaking, Cosmic Twister is a small group and it's a guided experience where a group of about 6 to 8 people get together at a designated time during a lunar cycle to help contemplate. We reflect on themes that are universally relevant and applicable to the cosmic energy. Um, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a later question. But the idea here is that we align with these lunar cycles, mostly just to become more embodied in our own lives so that we're able to move through different transitions or themes that are happening in our lives with more clarity. It allows our nervous system to reset and provides support so that we can engage with lives. More simply put, it's part attunement, it's part reflection, and it's part sharing for community witnessing. It's not a therapy, it's not a teaching, and it's not a performance. We use astrology and we use myth as lenses so that we can get meaning, derive some meaning from our own experiences. But the heart of it all is that we use these modalities to help people feel grounded and more connected and more oriented in their own lives. Because as you all know, life is challenging right now and there's a lot of confusion. So when people come to Cosmic Twister, they leave the experience feeling steadier. They leave the experience feeling more clear, more resourced, not overwhelmed with information because it's not about facts or fact finding or learning. And they're not overwhelmed by their feelings because it's about taking these opportunities to engage with your emotions without hitting that without hitting the tipping point where you crash out on your emotions. So it's really a place where we can titrate our emotions to feel the feelings that we have. That's what you will get out of being a part of our Cosmic Twister circles. I had a client once say that being in Cosmic Twister circles was better than therapy. And I will preface this by saying it is not therapy. It is not talk therapy. We are in a group and we are sharing things, but I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a mental health professional. I am a trauma-informed facilitator and a physical therapist. I have a lot of background in healthcare and in dealing with people's different pathologies, but this is not something that you would receive as a medical therapeutic. So I just want to be clear about that. Just to give you an idea about what a typical session looks like, I can walk you through what happens from the moment you come into the Zoom room and how you end and log off of a session. So you're going to arrive into the Zoom room. People are going to come in from all over the world. It is an international group. It is virtual and is live. And so we'll have a moment to just check in. You get to check your microphone. You get to check your camera if you choose to have the camera on or off. You get to orient into your space, make sure that you have your journal, which is recommended. You don't have to have a journal in your pen. And we'll go through some, just a brief check-in prompt. It helps us gather into the space to become oriented to each other. So we address ourselves by our names and we get to hear our voices. And that gives us just a little bit of a feel for the energy that we're all bringing into the collective and who we are, where we're from. After that, we're going to review the guidelines. The community guidelines are a set of parameters that allow us to feel safe. And it allows our nervous system to settle when we know what we're going to expect, what's allowed, what's not allowed in the space. Again, this is not about fixing things. It is not a therapeutic modality. We're not here to correct each other. We are simply in the space to bear witness to each other's experience, to gather together. So after we settle our nervous systems through the community guidelines, I'll bring you through a brief breathing practice, and then you will receive the invocation prayer. An invocation prayer is just a place to bring into the etheric realm. We kind of have lost the ability to engage with those things that are outside of our physical space. And so we call in the elements of nature, air, fire, water, and earth, and we engage with them as if they are as if they are part, like a living entities that we're bringing into the space. So again, it's just a way of feeling devoted and bringing consciousness into the experience. So we're not just living in this superficial realm. I hope that helps to, it's not woo woo. It's ritual without being kind of, feeling like you're leaping into something that doesn't feel entirely grounded. Because I really put a lot of time and thought into engaging in the spiritual realm and allowing that to guide us without getting lost, if that makes sense. After the invocation prayer, you're going to hear a short astrological transmission. I am not an astrologer. I enjoy it. I receive the information. I collect and gather how the new moon and the full moons are going to, how they're going to present themselves as energies through other master astrologers. And I just kind of collect and consolidate those, the feelings, those messages, and share them with you. And so this initiates our period of reflection. You're going to receive an idea. You're going to get an idea of what this lunar cycle, the moment, represents, what's happening energetically. And I try to communicate that in simple terms. You don't have to be an astrologer. You don't have to know astrology. You just have to be human. And I'm pretty sure you're going to find some resonance in your own life. When I first started learning about astrology, I always had this feeling of like, how do they know? Right? How does somebody else know how I feel? And so I've come to discover that, these cosmic energies do provide certain questions and prompts, and those are the prompts that I will present to you later on. But after hearing the transmission, the astrological transmission, then my colleague Ruth, who's a bibliotherapist, she is a pro when it comes to interpreting stories and myths. She's going to provide a myth. Her and I get together and talk about these energetic themes. And she comes up with a story that helps us to really ground in the theme of the human experience. So the energy that's transmitted cosmically is grounded through a story or a myth. And for example, the last new moon, we focused on the myth of Medusa because she had a lot of information coming forward that was applicable to the things that are coming up with our collective human experience. So these contemplations are guided through a series of prompts whereby you will hear the prompt. I will present it to you. I'll type it out in the chat box and give you an opportunity. Usually it's about 3 or 4 minutes where you can sit quietly in self-inquiry and contemplate and journal about what's coming through for you personally. And then we will have a sharing round whereby everybody gets a chance to share. I like to mix up the sharing order, so everybody's names will be presented in a sharing order in the chat box. And one by one, we'll take turns passing the microphone, so you get an opportunity to share, to vocalize what it is that came up for you. If people want to speak, They can speak up. If you want to listen and pass the mic to the next person, that is absolutely fine. There's no way to get it wrong. There's no judgment. There's absolutely no judgment. That's what makes this circle, this experience so profound, is that it's one of the few places I believe that you actually have an opportunity to share things from your heart, to be heard and have absolutely no judgment coming back. There's nobody fixing your experience. No, nobody's trying to change it. You can say whatever it is that comes up and be held knowing that you are safe. The integration happens in the end. So after we've shared through, usually it's about 3 or 4 prompt series, there's an integration where throughout the session, I love to share certain thoughts, or certain things that came up, little transmissions through all of the participants. And I like to weave them together into a closing reflection and provide an off ramp. Sometimes it's a quote, sometimes it's a meditation, sometimes it's a song. It just allows us for kind of a soft closure. And then we provide in the human array space a booklet. It's a 13-page booklet that contains all of the things that you experienced in detail, the transmission, the story, the prompts, symbols. And we also include a video of the transmission in case you can't be present for the live experience. Or if you want to just review the prompts that you didn't have enough time to go into depth, you want to return to something that comes back to you at some point later in the week, or to deepen your experience, you can do it at your own pace. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. Cameras are optional. You get to participate in your own way. It is guided. You are held. There is structure. And you get to bring yourself and your own process and how you're going to experience it. And so people come away from the experience saying they feel calm, they feel soothed, they feel reflective, connected. There is no pressure, absolutely no pressure. And this is not a performative space. So who is this experience really for? It's for you. Honestly, it is the one offering I feel like it is for everyone to experience. Generally speaking, I created the offering initially for myself, to be honest. As a highly sensitive person, somebody who experiences things very deeply, who feels very emotional, I didn't have an outlet for me to be able to express myself and be witnessed without feeling judged. So if you're a highly sensitive person, this is for you. If you're in a life transition and you maybe need to take some time and space to be able to reflect on the feelings that are coming up, the thoughts, the ideas, this is definitely the place for you. It's for people who are asking big questions, for people who are curious about life, what is happening in this big grand world that we're in. I think we all feel like things are upside down, big, confusing. If you want to just slow down and unwind, if you feel like your life is just on repeat, it's just, you're following a certain, I get up, I do this, I do this, I do this. You want to try and break that cycle and slow down and really tune into your inner world to become more intuitive. I think really that's, one of the greatest benefits from participating in Comsic Twister. It's one of the things that I wanted to help people to promote. As someone who I am a very intuitive person, and I'm often asked in my 25 years of clinical practice how to incorporate that. And we have to provide ourselves with these opportunities to be able to be intuitive. And so that is what this offering is. And that's why I think, everyone can benefit from being a part of Comsic Twister. it's for people who appreciate, the value of being in reflection. It's for people who want to make meaning out of their lives, or for people who just want, gentle structure to their experience. And you do not need to be spiritual. You don't need to know anything about astrology. I just ask that you come with an open mind and be curious. Who it's not for, it isn't for you. If you're looking for some kind of a biohack, so for some like fast tactical productivity, give me a hack. If you want like someone to coach you through something in a very regimented way, there's no quick fixes. It's also not for you if you have some heavy emotional processing. There is a time and space, and again, it's not therapy. So for people that are going through something that feels, so deep and heavy, it's probably, although we do tend to dive into some heavy topics, and you can feel free to, but if you feel like you can't, hold your emotions to the degree that it would be affecting others, then that's probably not the space for you. It's subtle, it is spacious, and it is amorphous, yet it has a guided structure that holds you and allows you to be fluid in that process. I touched on a little bit. Do you need to understand astrology or mythology to participate? Absolutely not. Absolutely no background is required. We translate everything into everyday language and themes of experiences that allow you to self-source your own practical meaning by connecting to these energies. Like I said, I'm delivering certain themes. This theme for this series is called Rebirth. And so we're going to be diving into things that feel, expansive and contractive and, laborious and things. There's a lot in the field, and you probably already are feeling them. We're just kind of putting words to these feelings, and allowing ourselves to share that as a community. So you can think of it, you can think about it in this way. Astrology is providing us with, a weather map, a weather report, and it's giving information that allows our nervous system to be able to process the weather. So when you have a little bit, when you're in touch with the themes of the energy, it's not something that you need to know in depth, or to be able to translate, but it's allowing your nervous system to just say, hey, it's going to be, a wicked snowstorm. You might want to be prepared and, put your Uggs on and your winter coat. And, and it's a very different feel than a sunny day. So it kind of just gives you a little bit of preparation of how you want to engage with energies of life. I hope that helps. What makes Cosmic Twister different from other moon circles or group experiences? I will say that one of the things that was most meaningful for me in my own healing process and becoming a little bit more in tune with nature, with intuition, with my own ability to self-source my healing, with my own health sovereignty journey, was to be able to engage again with energies and with the elements, taking things from, Eastern medicine and starting to understand them, but not being overly ritualized, not being overly dramatic about the process, not being overly didactic or locked into a certain way of feeling about moon cycles. It's a blend of Eastern and Western. It's kind of this middle space where we can play with the field of spirituality, but it's really grounded in science, in real science, in the exploration of themes. And our health is something that allows us to come into the space with our nervous system being wherever it's at. So some of us have a nervous system thermostat that's set in a space of being really active. And some of us have a nervous system that's really passive and flat. And so we use these circles more as a spiritual, emotional blend of combining the best of the Eastern world, the best of the Western world, structure, spaciousness, integration, meaning. It's not a dumping ground for emotional catharsis. It's community witnessing, and it's very simple. It's gentle. Um, it's respectful. It's kind. There is no pressure. Um, there are limits. You know, I hold the space as a facilitator um, with an awareness of what it would mean to overshare. I have a sensitivity to energies, and though there's a fluidity to process, I also, you know, believe that there is a space for soft boundaries and can rein us in if the energies feel like it's causing dysregulation. So it's designed to feel safe, grounded, and human. How much time and emotional energy should people realistically expect to invest? That's such a good question. Each live session is a 90-minute live Zoom international attunement session. So put aside those 90 minutes as yours. I say, you know, dedicate that time for you. You know, in the grand scheme of things, 90 minutes, 3 times a month, every 2 weeks, is a great opportunity to give yourself that space. There's optional, there's a workbook that comes out. There's the option to dive deeper if you want to. If there's something that comes up and feels, you know, resonant, you didn't have enough time, you can always go back and take as much time as you need on the back end after we've closed the circle. And there's also a place inside the community where you can continue to share through a comment section. So there's a community inside the space of the human array that allows us to continue on with our sharing if it's something that you want to be witnessed in the future. Some people journal in between sessions, others reflect mentally, emotionally. You're going to find that to dive into your emotions in this very safe, held, and titrated way, it is way more regulating than it is draining. I think some people fear that when you are diving into emotions, that it's going to be something that you can't handle. It's something that, you know, you won't be able to stop if you were to, you know, start to feel some deep grief. It's surprising to a lot of participants that you may find that you have a greater capacity to be emotional in community. We are hardwired as humans to be that way, and part of our emotional experience and our inability to not feel regulated in our emotions is because we're not engaging emotionally with other humans. And so that is the gift of this experience. You can engage lightly or deeply, and you can trust your capacity for your own emotions. If someone's feeling overwhelmed or sensitive, is this supportive, or could it feel like too much? Yeah, so how do we support our nervous system safely and gently? As I'd mentioned, we have a set of guidelines that hold the space in a place of safety. again, the premise is that we're able to engage with each other without judging, without fixing. We have the opportunity to say whatever it is on our mind and then pass the mic to the next person and they can speak their experience. Um, there's no back talk and there's no cross talk within the experience. Again, there's a certain process and a flow that allows us to be able to feel very centered and regulated in experiencing our emotions, whether they're, big or they're um, inaccessible. In either of the extremes, it helps us pull emotions into the center. And so this work is designed exactly for those moments where we might be feeling I don't know, like a flatness or like, I don't really know what I'm feeling. Or you might be feeling, there's something that's feeling, up, but I just, don't know. Don't know how to engage with it. I used to say that when I was experiencing a lot of things that I feel like my life is like a pile of spaghetti. And if I feel like if I pull one noodle, it's just going to start, pulling and pulling. And that's the beauty, you can pull on a piece of spaghetti and say, oh, that's a long piece of spaghetti, and know that there's no pressure to pull the whole thing and keep going. There's a structure that allows you to, okay, that's that part, and I can feel good. And we come back into the space in 2 weeks and be able to grow that even farther. Okay, I think we're getting to the end of the questions here. What makes this specific series, Cosmic Twister Rebirth, special right now? Ooh, that's such a good question. Um, well, if you have a pulse and you're engaging with people at all, you probably already know that we are in transitional times as a society. Our culture has brought us to this moment, this collective, feeling like we're on the brink of something, right? We're on the brink of something big. And astrologically speaking, we are on the brink of something really big, and we're at the crux of the change. Some people say, we're entering the new age. It's an age of, conscious awareness. We are on this threshold, and 2025 has been a long labor. So I'm calling this series Rebirth for a reason. We are rebirthing ourselves in a new way. We've been having an opportunity over the last few years, but I would say over the last year in particular, to lean in to do a lot of shadow work, to really dive into our own experiences. And gosh, how does it felt exhausting. It has felt uncertain. It has felt like you are breaking open and breaking free. And for someone who has had two home births, I can say that, I am familiar with the labor process. And even for those of you who haven't, I'm sure you can relate to this idea that, in order to go from an old paradigm to a new, there's a birthing process. And so this trilogy, this 3-part series of Cosmic Twister, from the new moon, we're headed into the full moon, to the new moon that happens about every 2 weeks. This trilogy is helping people to honor what is being complete. What are we completing? What is the process for you? And it's a personal process. It's also a collective process. And rather than, rushing into the next thing and whitewashing or bypassing or paper over or whatever, it's really important, I think, to feel these energies, to not only see what's happening outside in the world, but to really dive in and say, where does that live within me? how am I processing and feeling that in my own personal life? And how do I engage with the difficulty, the challenges, the dissonance, the push pull? This rebirth is all about that. It's, it's a contraction and then relief, and then another contraction and a relief. It doesn't mean that this is going to be, an instant transformation. It's allowing us to create the space to engage with what's about to emerge. It's about preparing ourselves and becoming ready. And it's exciting. It is just like the birth of, a child. Even though we don't know what's going to be on the other end of this, we know that we're here for a reason. I believe we're here for a reason. We are born for this moment, and this is an opportunity to explore your purpose in that moment. It allows me to dive into, why am I feeling? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? How do I engage with it? When I work with it, does it allow me into this next phase of my own personal development? And how can I integrate and relate to others in the world to make this, something that we're doing together? Lastly, what do people tend to walk away with? It fluctuates from the very subtle to being pretty dramatic, a really dramatic shift. There are people that, once you engage with your feelings, if you are diving deep into a process that really it strikes a chord, it really hits a nerve and helps you access that core belief or emotion that you can see in a different way, you can have like a shift. There's some people have this shift and say, I was having so much resistance, but upon, having that moment to reflect, to say it out loud, to be witnessed by others and not shamed for that thought, for that feeling, it resolved. So it can resolve, a symptom you're having. It can resolve a conflict. And sometimes it just can bring a little bit more clarity about what it is that, you're feeling. It could make you feel, it could allow you, it could give you the opportunity to feel more grounded and more stable in your experience. For me, I can tend to be really heady and almost launch into my own cosmic experience, and I get away from life, but it helps, to put words to things. It can anchor you back into your experience, because allowing yourself this process helps to find embodiment. And lastly, I think one of the things I remember hearing a lot during COVID, the COVID pandemic, was people saying the words, we're all in this together. And yet I often felt like I was always alone in my process, in the transition, in the experience of what was life. This was developed to allow us to engage and really, truly feel less alone. It felt hard to share my honest experience, some hard things that I was going through, until I had created this space. This was birthed. This Cosmic Twister experience was birthed out of COVID and my own need for virtual connection, for a place that I can heal and experience my emotions without feeling shamed for them, without feeling judged. So it is my hope that you are able to come experience Cosmic Twister. Again, it is something that I feel is so hard to explain, and something that you just have to come witness. Just be a part of it. Be my guest. I promise you that I will hold you with the dearest, most tender way of guiding, so that we can have these opportunities to grow and feel and truly, truly not be alone. Thank you. I hope to see you soon.